welcome to the Fantasy Hackers Podcast, where we have broken the code for daily fantasy sports and let you in on the secrets.
Welcome to Fantasy Hacker Studio, Fantasy Hacker Podcast. This is our third recording. Let's hope it's better than the first and especially the second. The second one was a doozy.
Well, I see you got a guest speaker with you, so I'm sure it's going to be great.
Yeah. So, real quick, Nils, tell us about your weekend. You had a 70% confidence level.
And that's about usually the confidence level I go into Vegas with, and I usually come home broke, and that's essentially what happened. We lost the game. Defensive slugfest, 13-2. Couldn't score.
If you watch episode 1, you'll hear Niels talk about how his team was so dominant that they put the JV team in the fourth quarter because they score 60 points on everyone. And this sorry sack of a team scores 2 points in the championship game. They shouldn't even let Richfield put out a team next year.
We
strong take from Joe.
We lost by 11 on a team that averages a spread of 50. So I'm okay. Like, we were in the game, and nobody else all season was even in the game. So I would still say we gave a decent showing, nonetheless.
You know, that's like telling our listeners, like, hey, you almost won $10,000 on your bet, but you didn't. But you almost did, so you should feel really good about your night.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I mean, how many times has Adams been
going to do that?
Leg away from winning the 13-leg parlay?
Yeah,
that's an accomplishment. I don't know why.
Not the results. just keep on with the process. The results will eventually show.
I mean, we were 2-time back-to-back finalists. We brought home a first-place trophy last year, second-place runner-up trophy this year. I'd say that's a lot better than wherever you live, Josie. West Jordan, Harriman, Riverton, I don't even know.
You don't know because, you know, it's hard to reach you people in Richfield. You know, I could score 2 points in a game by myself against your team.
Wow, okay. Good luck.
You line me up at the 50, I'll hit a field goal. You couldn't even muster a field goal? You kidding me? Playoffs? You can't even win a game. Another game.
I'm nervous to say this because I don't know who watches this podcast, but our field goal kicker.
I'm sure he does not watch this podcast.
You never know.
Soccer going on in Richfield, Utah.
Our kicker leaves some to be desired. He can get a PAT, and if the field goal's that close, lined up straight, then we're usually okay.
I think the key, though, in order for him to get a PAT, you have to get more than 2 points.
Listen, I got to tell you, our kicker doesn't even practice with us. Like, we went to Golden Corral before the game, and all these kids are walking in around Golden Corral. And I'm like, who's this kid? I'm like, that's our kicker. And I'm like, oh, he's never there.
When you said you went to Golden Corral before the game, like literally, like games at kickoffs at 7 and you guys are eating at 3?
3, yeah, yep.
Only the classiest for the Richfield.
Yeah.
Wow. We ate at the Golden Corral in the semis, and that worked great for us. We ate in the Golden Corral the year before. That worked great for us. It actually was great. Having been there last year, we knew it was up. We arrived at the stadium at the exact right time that we could get into the lockers. Morgan stood in the freezing cold for 3 hours waiting to get into the lockers.
Apparently it paid off. That character.
Apparently it paid off. True. It did. They pulled it out. Their AD had a stroke mid-game.
A literal stroke?
Yeah, he did. They had the ambulance out there because their athletic director collapsed in a stroke. We were up 2-0. I think he was nervous.
Oh, man. That's nothing to sneeze at. No strokes.
No. Don't know how he's doing. Could be dead. I don't know.
Yeah, let's hope not.
Our condolences to the Morgan High athletic director.
Yes. And congratulations at the same time for the victory.
Yeah. Hats off to him.
And good on you for listening to the podcast. I'm surprised he's listening. Thanks for the support. I shouldn't be surprised he's listening. This is good quality. This is a good quality product we put out. Before we jump in too much, I saw Cleveland lost. They were 15-0, which blew my mind. I had no idea that they could win 15 games in a row. They lost game number 16 to Boston in a tight one, 3-point game. Any thoughts on the league in general? Any thoughts on Cleveland leading the NBA right now, or should we just get right into the fantasy world?
I don't know. I've watched Cleveland a little bit. I don't know. I think they're giving great effort. It seems like, remember the year the Jazz, led by Donovan Mitchell, won the regular season title.
Yeah,
And none of us felt like they were that great.
And then we blew it against the Clippers in the playoffs.
Yeah, in the second round, it feels a lot like that situation where it's a lot of young guys that are really like scrapping and clawing and fighting in the middle of November, where a lot of like the veteran guys that know what they're doing maybe are kind of easing into it. But
I just appreciate Tristan Thompson being back in Cleveland for, I think, the fourth time.
Is he still playing in the league, Tristan?
No, he ain't contributing. The minivan's a key piece to the Cavaliers' success.
Believe it or not, you wouldn't know it, but I'm a big Kenny Atkinson fan. That's about the only thing I've got for Cleveland.
Big
Though I do appreciate Dan Gilbert as well.
But big Kenny Atkinson guy, but really low on Coach K.
Can't stand Coach K.
Atkinson,
I just think he's a scrub.
Out of his shoes.
I don't understand the love. Like, all right, we got Coach K here coming in for his 80th season, and he's made his 10th Final Four.
If you're an
Good
NBA,
job, Coach K.
If you're an NBA head coach and you have Coach K coming in for you, you're in Coach Kenny Atkinson. Who are you taking?
Coach Kenny for sure.
The real Coach Kenny.
Yeah, I'm taking KA for sure. What has Coach K done for us recently? Really, he's probably killed the dog that they gave him for his retirement. Can't even take care of that dog, let alone a team.
I think it's important for our listeners to know whose advice they're taking. So it's important to get these profiling questions out in front so they understand just exactly who Josie is.
Right.
Before we take advice from him.
I mean, Coach K, I believe, is the same man. Is he the one who got us a silver medal or a bronze medal?
No, that's Popovich.
Oh, don't even get me started on Pop. Can't even stand him. The best thing about the NBA this year is that he hasn't been in it.
Well, he has. He had a little stroke.
Yeah, I don't condone strokes by any means, but he misses a game and Wemby goes for 50. Pop holding him back? Coincidence? I don't know.
Who would have known that in the first 8 minutes of this podcast we would have mentioned a stroke from two different people?
That actually is interesting.
Had a parlay on us and won some big money on that.
Speaking of parlay, speaking of sports betting, how's the app coming, Brandon? The listeners want to know how close are we to being live with that.
It's good. It's you can go on and you can play with it most days during the day, kind of the night hours are when it's usually being worked on. So if you go on most days, you can get on Fantasy Hacker for free right now and kind of look at the numbers and look at the optimizer. I don't like using the optimizer yet. We're still tweaking that. But if you go on and you click on fantasy value, that'll rank the players that night based on the value. So if you can fill in any lineups with as many guys at the top of that fantasy value list as possible, it works out pretty good. I've had some success with it so far.
Now, did I hear you right? You said that our listeners can get on for free right now?
Yeah,
is that offer going to last forever?
No, obviously not. But you get on and start using it. We will have a 7-day free trial when we do launch completely. But right now, it's still kind of in the beta phase, and you can get on and play with it and see if you like it.
It needs to be mentioned that Josie is disgusted that you guys can use this for free right now. Absolutely disgusted. So Take advantage while you can. It will not last.
Yeah, and I pose the question to this group is when can we expect royalties to start coming in for this? I mean,
I can see you're upset about that Home Depot door. Need some income to change it.
again, I make doors, I sand them, I finish them, I install them, I don't paint them. Hate paint, hate getting paint out of my clothes, hate getting paint off my skin. But you have a door needs to be fixed, I'm happy to do it.
Are you really a door guy? I thought you were a
What do you
medical.
think?
Well, I don't know. That's why I'm asking.
Well, here I thought you were a construction guy, but you're coaching linebackers. So who knows what anyone is, really? I'll make a door.
Yeah, fair enough.
What's more than likely, me pay for a door or me make a door?
That's a great point. I will not argue that point. That's when you say that, no need to say anymore.
Thank
What do you pay for in life? What will you spend money on?
Very little.
Will you gamble with the fantasy hacker knowledge?
I'm hoping we implement like you sign up, you get 10 free bets, and I'll capitalize on those 10 free bets and then just let it roll throughout the year.
You're still not quite exactly sure what this is.
Exactly. Yeah. Yep. I'm here for support.
You don't bet on that.
Right. Exactly. I'm just hoping some money appears in my account.
We're not even quite sure why he's here.
Hey, contracts have been signed. My cut's already solidified. As long as I show up every Tuesday at 8:30, I'm looking forward to my check.
That's it. That's all you got to do.
Well, let's get into it. We got a big slate of games coming up.
We got a sounder
tomorrow.
The main slate breakdown.
So speaking of Cleveland, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 games coming up tomorrow. Let's start with New Orleans at Cleveland. A little revenge game maybe for Cleveland, trying to get back on another 15-game win streak. What do you guys think? Who are we liking for this game?
Yeah, I think I like a lot from Cleveland. Pelicans play fast, not great on defense. It's going to be, like you said, bounce back game. That's something that doesn't always show up in the fantasy numbers. So when you go to any optimizer, I mean, that's hard to work into any algorithm. So in your head, if you see anybody that's already at fantasy value and they have a bounce back game, look for it. That's a good spot. As far as value goes right now on that game, there's nobody over 5 on at least the RotoWire predictor.
There's some close though. Like Mitchell is close.
Yeah. So if you do see a bounce back, and I think you're fine playing Mitchell here, 8,800. He's close to 5. Yeah, I think Donovan. That's the thing is weird with this team is like you got Garland and you got Donovan, and after that, like I don't know who the volume guy is. Evan Mobley. I don't know.
I am seeing that if you take Noel, I don't even know how to say his name, but he is showing value. Should only cost 3,300. Well, actually, I lied to you. The opposite. He's not showing value.
Yeah.
Take it back. I went backwards.
Yeah, 4,900.
How can our listeners trust our opinion when we don't even know how to pronounce a guy's name?
We don't know how to pronounce his name. We can't even do the math right. We don't even know what the app does. We think we can bet on it. And the app is up periodically, depending on when you want. And our guest speakers are 7, 8 years old.
Listen, my wife's been out of town for a week. I tried to get bedtime done. I tried hard. As you can see, they're both running around here, so I apologize. I'll try and keep myself on mute as best I can to minimize the squawking. But
one thing I'm noticing about this game is there's a lot of players out. I mean, Murray, McCollum, Alvarado, Hawkins, Levert, Bates, all out. I mean, does that when there's that many guys out, Adams, does that make you change how you're trying to evaluate and build your team?
Yeah, a little bit. Obviously, that is huge value if you get like a starter that's out, or a high usage guy that's out. That's where you can find the biggest value usually. That's why honestly we do this the night before, so this is kind of our first look at the slate. Um, but you really don't want to lock your lineups till as late as possible. So 4 o'clock, really start building your lineups. That's when you're going to get all the injury information. That's when you're going to be able to update any of the optimizers to find the greatest value. So, if tomorrow all of a sudden Donovan says he's not playing at 4 o'clock, then obviously everybody in the industry is going to go jump on Darius Garland and put him in because he's going to have to carry a bigger load. And obviously, DraftKings doesn't change the price on those late injury newses, so that's a huge way to find value, especially on when they're announcing it the day of that they're not going to play.
And I mean, we got 8 games tomorrow, so it's not like you have to really pick much of any of these players if they're not valued properly, right? I mean, there's going to be other players in other games we can look at.
So yep. on this game, then, anyone that we're really loving, or I mean, we talked about Donovan, we talked about Garland. Those are kind of the high volume guys for Cleveland. Anyone on the New Orleans side that we're liking?
I would say that. I mean, I don't know. I mean, McCollum's out. I don't know who you're going to fill those minutes with, but it's looking like probably Boston Jr. He does look overpriced based on his projection. But if those other two, if Alvarado's out and McCollum's out and Murray's out, I feel like he's probably going to have, he's probably going to overperform, and that might be your opportunity.
Josie, does any of this make sense to you? Are you catching on?
Yeah, it's with the slate of injuries to New Orleans, I don't know why anyone would bet anything on anyone in that game. Go heavy. I'm with Brandon there. You got to go heavy Cleveland, I would assume here. Yeah, I'm down. I had high hopes for New Orleans at the start of the season. On paper, I like their roster. I just don't understand how a team can be so ravaged by injuries. I'm down on the injuries to the people. Just play the game. Get on the court and play the game.
I guess it's not a good time to bring up Kawhi Leonard then.
No. Who goes to the Olympics and gets sent home? I don't understand.
Did we ever figure out if that was on him or on them? Did he send himself home or did they send him home?
I hope they sent him home. I used to be a big Kawhi guy. I thought, he's just kind of like he just puts his head down, does his job, doesn't really want any fanfare. Because that's
just wants $300 million and not to play, not to earn it.
And then all of a sudden he just stopped playing and load management. And my goodness, I've never met a guy that makes more money doing less stuff than the guy.
I like that he goes with heavy load management, yet it's not working. The load management's not working for Kawhi.
No, it's working just fine for him.
Yeah, he's doing real good.
He's fine.
All right, let's look at Chicago-Milwaukee.
Chicago-Milwaukee. Pretty high over-under, 236.5.
Yeah, that's a good
Milwaukee.
number.
That's been a little bit of a surprise. Not so much on the fantasy side of things, but just in general. Doc Rivers. I got thoughts on that guy, but
how bad about Doc Rivers? Joseph, what is your take on Doc Rivers?
Would it surprise any of you to know that I'm actually a big Doc guy?
Actually, no, that does not surprise me at all.
I feel like Doc.
To be honest,
I feel like Doc gets a bad rap.
I wonder why.
Yeah, I don't understand though. Like, take the Jets. They just fired their GM today, and until they fill the replacement, they've promoted the next dude in line, whose previous job was the Browns GM. I don't understand why these people continue to get hired after getting dismissed. Like, if there's one organization worse than the Jets, it's the Browns, and you fire the Jets man and move the Browns man.
Wait, so is this an argument for or against Doc Rivers? Like, are you saying it's not?
I appreciate Doc. I appreciate Doc that he somehow continues to get hired, but I don't understand the reasoning.
Yeah, I don't
I
know.
love that he was
Like how do you?
I love that he was an analyst for the Bucks. He was an
Yeah,
analyst, and then he's just like, I think best move we can make here, even though we're first in the East, is let's get rid of the coach.
I've
I
been
mean
running the
it's got to be nice. Who was their previous coach again?
Who was it?
I can picture him, young guy.
He was a new coach.
Yeah.
Let me fact check
I
this real quick.
I can't
While
remember. His,
we're looking that up, now that we're on this game, I will say that Lillard is close to a good buy. He's right on the 5 points per $1,000. Giddy is also really close right there. There's a couple options to play. Other than that, there's really not much.
What does it look like for DeLon Wright? I got him at like 6.32.
Devon Wright is you have him right here. It says he's scheduled to get 11 points. You have him at how many?
RotoWire has him projected at 24 points. I bet there's an injury that hasn't been updated somewhere.
Okay, so yeah, on here I'm not. So 24 divided by 5, should be $4,800, and he's $3,800. So if your numbers are accurate, then that's a great buy. It's only showing 11 points. The injuries, and yeah, you're right. DeLon Wright will probably play more because Lonzo Ball is out and Rollins is out. So I think that Rollins being out gives Wright more minutes, and then Ball being out hopefully frees.
I actually think that your numbers are probably right because I think this is going off of him. He's been in the starting lineup the last couple nights, but Lillard's back tomorrow. So
Lillard is back, yeah. So
I think DeLon's going to get pushed to the bench.
He may not be a good buy then. Yeah, so Lillard is right on the cuff, and Giddy's right on the cuff for Chicago, and that's really all I can see that I can make any sense out of.
Chicago typically is a slow team, but they've been fast for whatever reason this year. As far as pace goes, that's probably why you're seeing the high number that Scott mentioned. So good game yet. I wouldn't mind playing Lillard a bounce back game. Looks like Giannis is a game time decision, listed as probable. So
He's been putting up
keep
some
an eye
monster
on that.
numbers recently.
And it has him at 59.9 fantasy points, so a lot of points, but he's right on his mark at $11,500. It shows he should cost 11.8, so he's a little bit above that. He might be a buy, but barely. And I think when you're questionable, yeah, he might put up big numbers, or he might still be overcoming an injury a little bit, right? That might affect his ability to score.
What do you guys think about like Damian Lillard coming back? Does that make Giannis better or worse in terms of fantasy? I mean, I can see it going either way.
Yeah, I don't know. What's your opinion?
I think his usage probably drops, but his efficiency increases. So, I don't know. I think Damian Lillard with a guy like that, who's probably, I mean, he's gonna take a lot of shots. So, if it's more of a pass first point guard, I think that Giannis can see a bump. But where Damian's going to eat up a lot of the shots that Giannis is normally getting, probably both guys take a hit.
If you want to go Chicago way, both Vucevic and Levine are right very close to that 5 per 1,000 number. Nothing crazy outstanding, but they're right there. They're probably okay.
What do you got Brook Lopez at?
Let me do the math for Brook real quick. 28. I have him at 28.5 fantasy points, so he should cost $5,700, and he's 6,000. So he's a little bit overpriced. Not much, but a little bit.
All right, nothing huge jumping out of that game. It looks like
we got Indiana at Houston.
All right. Miles Turner, Jalen Green, both game time decisions. It looks like.
Who do you think's a shadier person, Grayson Allen, Dylan Brooks, or Draymond Green?
Order of what you just said. Draymond shadiest. Well, no, I'm going to go Dylan Brooks shadiest.
Yeah.
What about like scumbag? Like who
Dylan Brooks
would you say is the dirtiest of the three?
I think Dylan Brooks does it on purpose. I think Draymond Green doesn't always mean to do it. But it's like in his soul. He can't get it out.
He just sees Zach Edey's Achilles, and he's like, I gotta grab that.
Yeah.
I didn't see. I read about that. I didn't see it. Was it a legit grab, like typical Draymond?
Yeah, it's typical
See, I
Draymond.
almost appreciate Dylan Brooks though. Like he's embraced his role. He knows what he's doing.
Yeah, he's not hiding it.
He's not a superstar, so he's got to find a way to stay relevant, and he's done it. And then somehow got $80 million from Houston. Good for him.
Yeah, gets kicked out of Memphis and
Though, in what world does Golden State choose Draymond Green over Klay Thompson? The man averages like 4, 4, and 2. Get him off the team. Done with Draymond. I'm surprised Steve didn't bring him to the Olympics. My goodness.
What about Steve? What's your take on Steve as a head
Oh,
coach?
can't even stand Steve.
I actually kind of agree with you there.
He has a bad back. Takes 2 seasons off. You kidding me? Take a Tylenol and coach. You got Dan Toney coaching with a knee replacement on crutches, and Steve Kerr has a sore back and takes 2 years off. And while he does, the 2 replacement coaches go like a combined 80-6. Like,
that's because he set up the framework.
Set it up. Mark Jackson set up. He co-set it up.
yeah.
Well,
I've
looking
always
at this game, looking at Indiana Houston, I'm going to tell you who I think is looking like a good buy, not by a long ways, but is Dylan Brooks, Josie's favorite. He does come in at value in this game, and he's cheap, 4,000. So if you're filling your roster out with your all-stars, we all know Dylan Brooks is capable of a lot bigger game than what he's projected, and I think it's a good bet. If you're needing someone cheap, he is at a good value already, and I think he's a wild card that could easily score you more on any given night.
Let's do this. Let's go ahead to Philadelphia and Memphis. But while we're doing that, Nils, I want you to look up those values in that game. I want to go back to Steve. I always wondered when I saw Mark Jackson calling their games, do you think that he just like is underneath his like professional appearance and presentation? Do you think he's just so pissed off? That should have been his team, you know?
Oh, Mark Jackson?
Mark Jackson, yeah.
Yeah, I think so. It'd be hard not to be bitter.
I mean, and I feel
Funny enough, I'm glad. I normally don't like when people get wronged. Love that Mark Jackson got wronged. Wish it wasn't by Steve Kerr. Mark Jackson's a scumbag.
He's still bitter about the Stockton comments.
Yeah, very much so. Like, sorry, Mark, you and John Amici aren't gonna. Not gonna happen. I think it was It was Mark, Olden Polynice, and John Amici and Deshaun Stevenson. That's a core 4 right there.
They tried to stage a coup, right?
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
Coup of the Utah Jazz. Dethroned John Stockton.
Nels, what do you got for us?
Nobody's looking. I haven't got down to the bottom. But all the big names, expensive guys. Nothing's looking great, and I will definitely. This is one where do not pick Embiid. Do not pick Embiid unless Adams is going to give us a reason why. But he's only projecting 30 points, and he's $9,800. He should be at like $5,800 based on his fantasy projection. So Embiid is way overpriced. I know people like Embiid. I know he's a big name. He is probably one of the best picks.
Don't underestimate Zach Edey either. He's going to foul the crap out of Embiid, but I think he's going to make it hard for him.
Zach Edey is out.
Oh, okay. Take that back. Then who's going to be guarding Embiid?
Andre Drummond. That's Philly. Hold on.
Here's the problem: is I don't know what's going on with Embiid. He's only played 3 games. He's had 26 minutes, 33 minutes, and 31 minutes, which isn't like they're on a huge minutes restriction. And he's had 25, 34, and 30 points, which is way below his like career average on points per minute. He's usually like 1.5 points per minute, which should put him at like 45 or 50 points. His efficiency just hasn't been there. He's had in real points, he's had 13, 20, and 11 points.
His likely guard is going to be Brandon Clark or Jay Huff.
You think
we forgive you if you've never heard of either of those players.
Yes, I don't know. He went 5 for 11 last night. A couple nights ago against Orlando, he was 5 for 15. He was 2 for 11 against New York. I mean, he's just. It seems like he's just working off some rust. Maybe he's just been resting all summer and working through his injury. I don't know, but eventually he'll break out, and 9,800 is going to be too cheap for him. But I don't know if it's yet.
What about Portland, Oklahoma City? We got Portland at Oklahoma
Value
City.
here somewhere.
Over under 222.5.
It's not terrible. Simmons could miss the game. He's questionable. It's an illness.
Chet Holmgren's out, and Hardenstein's out.
Man, Scoot Henderson's. I wish Scoot Henderson was priced lower than that. Let's see. Scoot Henderson in the games that Simmons has been out, he's had 25 and 24 fantasy points, which
It's projecting him at 23.8, so that's close to what you're saying. And he's at 5,400, and he should be at 4,700, so he's overpriced.
yeah, DraftKings is on that one. Shy, what is Shy looking like?
Shai Gilgeous is projected at 49.9 points, should cost 90, basically 10 grand, and he's at 10,500. So it's close. He's probably right about his projection.
That guy's fun to watch play. He's good.
Well, and Chet Holmgren is out, and that might be a little more load on Shai because Chet does, do some scoring for OKC, and maybe with Chet out, Shai has to pick up even a more load, and possibly he overruns his fantasy points. So I don't know that it's a terrible decision to pick up Shai if that's who you want as your main guy. I don't know if these are the best option, considering you have Lillard and Antetokounmpo that are in those same price range at more points. So, but it's a possibility. A decent buy that might be good is Andrew Wiggins. He's projected at 20.7 points. Should cost $4,100. He's overpriced also. Everyone's overpriced today, but not overly overpriced. And with again someone that might pick up some slack with Chet out.
Here's one to take a look at if Chet is out is Jalen Williams. What are you showing his projected points are?
Jalen Williams is projected at 42.2 points. So if you're trying to get 5 points per thousand, he should cost $8,400, and he costs $8,500. So he's right on that mark. But like you're saying, if Chet's out, he may.
Yeah, and listen to his last 4 games have been 51, 62, 36, and 45 fantasy points.
So that's probably a great buy, Jay.
Yeah.
I think he's overpriced what they're projecting, but it sounds like they're under projecting his points.
Yeah,
based on his hot streak. And I think, and Adams can speak to that, but I think that's one of the benefits of Fantasy Hacker is we are taking into account the most recent games versus other statistical formulas are not tracking that the same way that we are. Is that correct?
Yeah, 2 of the main things like to look at here with Jalen Williams is the pace of the game and his last 5 games. So his last 5 games, he's averaging far more than 38 points a game. Chet being out, you think that's going to stay the same or get bigger. And then the pace of this game is going to be pretty high. What did you say the over-under was, Scott, on there, the money line?
222.5.
Yeah, pretty good pace. Portland's been playing fast. Portland has like the second or third fastest pace in the league right now. That's going to make OKC have more possessions. I like Jalen Williams tomorrow.
All right, there you go. New York, Phoenix. Over under on that one, pretty close, 221.5. That one's going to be airing on ESPN. It's a marquee
That's
match.
going to be an interesting one because I think the Knicks play slow and Phoenix plays fast. So they're probably trying to hedge their bets either way and kind of splitting the difference. But I don't know which pace wins out. We'll have to wait and see. That'll be an interesting one.
Cat Towns is a great buy according to his projected points. He's projected at 51 points, which should cost about 10,800, and he costs 9,400. So if you're looking for that's probably the best spread that we've seen so far on your star level player. If you're shooting for a captain, I know that's not the game tonight, but that's a great buy there.
Yeah, Jalen Williams would probably be that's probably a pretty solid start to a lineup. And then filling in with value guys as value becomes available tomorrow, I think is probably a pretty good start to a strategy.
Looking at Durant and Bill both out, and Nurkic is questionable.
So let's see. What does that do to Devin Booker?
You'd think that would increase his usage, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, let me hold on. Sorry, I'm on another one right now. I'm looking at Tyus Jones, and he looks like a decent buy. Should cost 5,400. I guess he's not a great buy. He's slightly not quite there.
Booker's actually struggled with Bill and Durant out.
Booker should cost 8,300, and he costs 92. So he according to his projections, he's not a buy.
Yeah, in his last 4 games have been 32 fantasy points, 25 fantasy points. He had a breakout against Minnesota, 65, but then he's back to 28.5.
Someone that might be interesting to look at is Royce O'Neal. Should cost 4,900, and he does cost 4,900. So he's right on that bubble of 5 points per 1,000. And I don't know if Royce is going to get extended minutes without Durant and Bill. That might be a way to look at it too.
Yeah, Royce will actually, if we get to Jace's segment later, Royce is actually one that is fairly split dependent on home road. He usually averages like a full half point per minute more at home than he does on the road. So that's something that a lot of these optimizers don't take into account too. This is a home game for Royce O'Neal, so I'd play Royce at home. I like that.
Now we're running a little bit low on time, so we may have to rush through these last ones. But this next one's actually pretty interesting. Atlanta at Golden State. This is actually the highest over/under according to ESPN. So they're at 239.5.
How about Golden State? How about Golden State? Their season.
They've looked good.
Yeah, where did this guy? They got rid of one player, and all of a sudden they're good again.
Yeah, like from the bottom to the top. It's a little mind-boggling.
Yeah. What about Draymond? I mean, you can almost marker him in for 35 points a night, fantasy points. He hits that. I mean, he's hit 35. He's hit 39, 36, and 32 his last 3 games.
He's projected at 28.5, so he's a little bit under projected.
Yeah.
So how much? Tell me what his average is on those last 3 games.
He's averaging 35 points a game the last 3 games, and we're playing Atlanta, who is the fastest paced team in the league.
Okay, so if he's averaging 35, he should cost $7,000, and he costs 6,100. So he's not a great buy based on what DraftKings has for fantasy points, but based on our optimizer on Fantasy Hacker, we well believe he's going to score more than that, and then he would become a great buy, about $1,000 cheaper. So that's 5 free points.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Draymond's a good play.
Josie, you gonna play Draymond?
I would not play Draymond ever. Period.
You just don't want that in your locker room.
Yeah, I don't want it. He's not. I bet he's a bad person as well. Not only is he a slob basketball player, I bet he's like a degenerate human being too.
I feel like he wore off on KD. I feel like KD used to be a good dude till he became friends with him.
I agree. I agree to that. Like I said, what?
This is a 240. I'd lock Draymond into your lineups, guys. I mean, what's your point total showing, Scott?
239.5.
Yeah. This is going to be a really fast game. There's no way he's not scoring 35.
Okay. So it sounds
another potential decent option. Steph Curry right now is questionable. I don't know if that means he's going to play or not, but if he's out, Buddy Hield is already a pro buy. He's cheaper than what he's projected to get, and Buddy Hield will probably have higher usage should Steph Curry. He is Buddy Hield is costing 5,700. He's projecting 28.2 fantasy points on here, so he should cost 5,700. So he's right on the dot.
I'm a big Buddy Hield guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that play tomorrow, Buddy Hield. Especially if Steph's out.
We've got Jalen Williams. We've talked about Karl Anthony Towns. Talked about Draymond. Talked about Buddy Hield. Those are some pretty good picks. Last one we got Orlando, LA. It's actually the slowest pace of the game or of the night. 206.5.
And LA again, that's another kind of turnaround team this year.
I should specify LA Clippers.
Oh yeah, specify because the Lakers. They played tonight.
Yeah.
And so yeah, and has anyone checked? Is LeBron out? Oh no, it's away. Never mind. He wouldn't be out tonight.
Yeah, he'll play in LA.
Sorry, that's my bad. I just was thinking the Jazz, and I'm like, oh.
Another insider tip is a lot of stars, they don't play at elevation for whatever reason anymore. LeBron being the main one.
Has anyone ever asked him about that?
No, it's never it's never on the injury report as elevation or I don't want to go to Utah. It's always something different, an ankle or a knee or something. But it's a different pattern.
I'm not seeing any major, and I'm going through here, but James Harden's right on the bubble. Zubac is right on the bubble. Trying to get down through here a few more, but so far nothing crazy standing out to me.
Orlando's a really slow pace. I'd fade this game. Try to stay away from it. I think we've talked about some studs that are going to be in some high scoring, fast paced game. Let's go play them and then watch the injury report tomorrow to fill in your lineup with value players based on those injuries.
I don't know that we've got time for Jace's stat of the night, but Brandon, who are your three locks for the night?
Give me Draymond. Give me Jalen Williams. Give me Cat.
I like it.
All right. Got write those down. Make sure to follow up. All right.
And thus far in the season, you're 2 of 3, 66% hitting. So
yeah,
just under Niels' 70%. So you're right there. It would have been something like Niels. Yeah, I'm 70% confident we would win. It's not even like you lost 30-28. You literally scored 2 points. How do you only score 2 points in a game that's almost never possible to score 2 points?
Couldn't tell you. I mean, I can't. We don't have the time. I can tell you in detail what happened, but I don't know that we have the time for that.
I think it started and ended at the Golden Corral, Elder.
It had nothing to do with the Golden Corral. Nothing at all. The only thing it had to do with the Golden Corral is our speaker, who is a former University of Utah Ute, who spoke he was invited to speak to Utah before the Utah BYU game, and then he spoke for us. And in the Golden Corral, he mentioned, I've only been asked to speak twice in the last 10 years, and once was the Utes, and the second time is you. And they bring me in when they need the big guns. And I was like, oh boy, the Utes lost. So, of course, we did too.
Well, it's been fun. I gotta go.
Your wife's not even home. Your wife's not home. Who's forcing you to leave?
She just barely got into the garage.
I like that whip. He hears the garage door open, and I gotta go.
He's walking in right now.
Oh no! Oh no!
Well, it's just a work call, honey.
Thanks for listening to the Fantasy Hackers podcast. Don't forget to subscribe to Fantasy Hackers on YouTube and follow us on X
Already gone.
for real-time fantasy basketball updates.